Safe Space. Good evening, Safe Space family. Tonight we have a wonderful guest that is, again, a little cousin of mine, and he's not so little anymore. He has a birthday coming up this Friday, September the 29th, and we were discussing before the show that I remember when he was about to be born. I'm about 12 years older than he is. And but I'm delighted to have him tonight. His name, first of all, I didn't even introduce the show. I apologize. Welcome to Safe Space. This is a place of just that, safety, a place to exchange ideas, to develop prayer strategies, to give information, to meet people at their place of need, to help them understand that there's always hope in our Father, Lord Jesus Christ. This, again, tonight is a piece of information that I wasn't aware of what my cousin was doing until this past July, but I know that there are many that will find this information helpful and that it will meet them at their place of need at the time that it is most needed. That's just how our God is. He is always on time and orchestrating things to come to us in many different ways at the time that we need it. This is Daniel Ligon. He is the creator of Kidney Friendly Kookin. Thank you so much for coming to Safe Space, Daniel.
Thank you.
I'm very excited for my audience to know about your product. But before we get there, is there anything, I know you're not married and that you don't have any children. Is there anything in your personal life you want to share with us, your church, anything that's going on in your life? If not, you can dive right into the motivation of why you developed this product, Kidney Friendly Kookin. What was your motivation?
Motivation begins with family history of sickness and disease. And of course, that has tried to attack, but it can't stay because being with God and doing God's work, he's not going to allow it. And he already said sickness and disease shall not take over me. And we know that Jesus Christ took all the sufferings for us, and that we should not be sick, and we should not even hold on to it. I don't even own it. Even though I may be challenged with it, but it doesn't overtake me, and I won't allow it because I know that's great work for me to do, and I'm already healed because of the stripes that Jesus took for us already.
Right.
Amen.
That's very, very true. So you were motivated based on first of all, your faith, but a family history of kidney disease. I know your mom had a kidney transplant and she was very near and dear to me, very close to me, in and out.
Yes.
You all were in and out of our homes all my life, and I the same, you all's. We were very close, and she was taken way too soon at 59.
59.
And back in 2009, I remember the call that I received saying that she was gone, and I was just very shocked. I was home and I couldn't believe it. So this kidney friendly cooking seasoning that you've developed, tell me, first of all, I'm gonna speak to this. This is not by coincidence that I'm finding out this year that you have developed this kidney-friendly seasoning to assist people in their lifestyles of how they season their food and the other information that you have to share with us. But I have been since probably February on a journey of discovering or giving information through my own discoveries through this platform about generational curses, which entail diseases, early deaths in generations, all this type of stuff that plague our lives and our families. And that so often we just accept as being quote unquote how it is or what happens in your family, not realizing it is a generational curse that's been attached to the bloodline somewhere back with people that we don't know anything about. Through their sin, it was given permission to attach to the bloodline. And it just reiterates the importance of getting this information out to people so they know how to attack it outside of doing practical things like adjusting their diet and their lifestyle and using products like yours, how to attack it in their prayer life and developing prayer strategies and researching and spending time to know what to declare through their mouths in leaning upon God to get rid of these burdens and these challenges in our lives. So it's so glad for you to hear that. To hear you say that is what I should say. I'm so excited about that because it's the good news. It's the good news that I've been hearing all this year from the time that I saw Pastor Mark Rice on Pastor Latasha's show talking about these things. They're things that we know, but we really don't know, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yes.
So your motivation was based in the illness and you not wanting to be a carrier of this for generations, for yourself and for generations to come. Is that right?
Exactly. That's right. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes. Starting back in 2003, one day I just was feeling weak. And I said, I'm just going to go to the doctor. Haven't been to the doctor. And knowing, the history of diabetes, hypertension, and then, like I say, now dealing with kidney disease. I said, let me just go to the doctor. And that's when I got first diagnosed with diabetes. And I called my mom and told her, I was like, they told me, make a choice. Either you're going to go to this hospital or that hospital. Which one? Because you're not going back home. And at that time, I did not even know, because they could even measure my blood glucose level at the doctor's office.
It was so high.
It was so high. And they say, what's wrong? Are you feeling okay? I said, I just feel a little tired. And the doctor told me, he said, well, I can't let you go back home because you might not wake back up because
Oh,
you're
wow.
practically what they call a walking comatose patient, well, so I said, okay. So they put me in the hospital. When they were able to measure the glucose level, it was 1,014. You're usually dead or brain dead or in a coma at 600. I was
Oh,
1,014.
oh, Daniel.
And they couldn't believe it. I said, that was only by God. Only God has kept me. And so from that point, I knew something had to change. And then, like I said, dealing with mom, grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles, all down the line, dad, my own dad, all of that. I said, this has got to change. And then in 2008, that's when the onset of hypertension came into play. And then I would go to work with a high blood pressure of 238 over 126. And people were like, how are you functioning? I said, I've just been doing my thing. Go to work, no problem. Didn't have any signs of high blood pressure, any of that. I said, okay. So after mom, you know, going on, I said, something got to change. I need to make a change. I'm too young. Because at that time, I was only 29 when she transitioned. So I said, well, something's got to change. And then around 2018, I made a decision. I was talking to my spiritual godmom, I called her, from my previous church, and she's always looked after me. And I told her, I said, put me on speakerphone for you and your husband. I said, I'm making a decision. I said, I think I want to try the gastric bypass because I kept hearing all about it. I said, well, I don't know if I can do it. I'm gonna see if I can just lose weight on my own and all of that. I went to my doctors. They was like, you might need to try that because you need to get this weight off as fast as you can. And that's all I kept hearing. I said, okay. So late 2019, I started making preparation. And in January of 2020, I made an appointment. I said, I just made up my mind. I said, God, we're going to do this because if I'm going to do things for you, I got to do it well. Sickness and disease can't have me, and I can't do your will, and I'm falling all over the place.
Right.
I would go to work, and it would start to take a toll on me. let me back up a little bit. Let me go back to 2016, right after your auntie, Granny is gone. 2 weeks later, I was dealing with my foot. They were ready to cut my toes off because I
Oh my.
developed an ulcer from having diabetes. And I was laying up in the hospital 2 weeks after grandma's transition. And in that time, that's when my eyesight was actually being bothered. I had wrecked my car, crashed it, everything. A
Because you
lot of
couldn't
things was
see.
going on.
Right.
Oh, yes. Because see, hypertension and diabetes affects your eyesight as well.
Okay.
And I was about to go blind. And I had 6 eye surgeries to have implants put in my eyes, cataracts removed, all of that. All that's going on. Fast forward back to 2020, when I made that decision, I said, well, Lord, let me just try this out. I was 391 pounds. People couldn't believe that. They
No,
said, well,
I
you're
never
so
thought.
tall, you carry it well. I said, yeah, and grandma always talks. She said, if you're going to be big, at least be neat. That's your Aunt Danny.
I know. That
So
sounds
I
like
try to keep it neat, keep it belted up and everything.
you were
So
always very neat and very well put together.
that's the way I was taught and raised.
Yeah, it is the way we were
So
raised. Mhm.
being big, I can count all the way back from probably 3rd grade. That's when I really
Yeah, you
start
were.
sprouting out. So I
You
tell
were
people, I've been big since the 3rd grade. No big
right.
deal. Here I
Right.
am. So 2020, January, I went to the seminar and I said, well, okay, I'm going to see what they have to offer. And they talked about the different surgeries you can have, the complications and all of that. And I did have a relative, and I knew of some other people that had the surgery because, back in the day, the procedures are different. And now they're more modernized and more advanced now. So
Mhm.
it's less time, less downtime and everything. So I went in on January 2020, 391 pounds I weighed in, and I talked to the surgeon. And just so happened that one of the surgeons is one of my previous surgeons that worked on me before. So she knew who I was, and I was kind of relieved and kind of like at ease because I know her and she's an awesome surgeon. And so I set up an appointment and I began talking with her, and it is a process. It is a very long process. Um, and that was the same time COVID was
I
going
was
on.
listening to your date. Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
I'm sure COVID was an added layer, but how has the weight loss, because you have lost how much weight?
Um, Roughly close to 200 pounds, but to be accurate, 189.
Now, that surgery was very instrumental and it was successful, but how has educate us on a person that may have CKD, which is chronic kidney disease,
Mhm.
that may be being dialyzed or maybe not, because some patients don't have to take dialysis. Is that correct?
That is true.
Okay,
That
from the
is true.
research that I did, so I could speak to you intelligently, there are 5 common causes, which 2 you've already hit on, of kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, which are
Mhm.
diabetes, high blood pressure, autoimmune diseases, which I've had one of those, which was Crohn's, but
Right.
like lupus, Crohn's, genetic predisposition, and another thing that whereas your kidneys can be defective from birth,
Mhm.
can cause kidney disease, and diet changing. Tell us about how the weight loss and your diet change led you to creating this seasoning and how it has added to you living a healthier life. Are you on being are you being dialyzed now? Are you on dialysis now?
Yes, I am currently on the dialysis machines 3 days a week. I had to incorporate that into my life, and people will say, "And you still go to work?" Yes,
So do you do
because
it at home or do you go to a
no, I
facility?
go I go to the facility because trying to do it at home requires a little bit more than I would want to do. Plus, I'm qualified actually, and I'm kind of glad of it, that I don't have to do it at home, because if you decide to do a home dialysis, you have to go and they put something, it's sort of like a stoma for those people who have to wear those colostomy bags.
Mhm.
There's a little thing like a stoma they had to put on your stomach to put in a tubing. And that's your port that you have to have surgically done, which means you're going to also have an enlarged stomach. Then what you have to do is, the first thing is you have to fill your stomach with all this solution, and you have to walk around with that for about 2 hours.
So
Then
you're
at
not
night,
qualified for it, so you don't have to do any of that,
I
right?
don't have to do it, because you
Okay, so
also have to have someone living with you, and I
okay,
don't have anyone living with me. And you have to have certain amount of space for all of the supplies and equipment.
okay, gotcha. So you go to a facility. What changes have you made diet wise for to could continue your weight loss journey? We know the surgery was successful, but you had a part to play in that as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
And
Even when you have gastric bypass, there are certain things you have to stay away from versus being on dialysis, because when you have gastric bypass, they tell you don't eat a lot of carbs, you know, drink more water, stay flushed. On the kidney side, they want you to eat rice and some bread. Isn't that funny? That's
yes.
like, wait a minute, that's the two opposites. It's like, how do
So
I juggle
how
this?
did you manage that with the two situations that were both most predominant in your life being opposite diet plans, and educate us on the things that you were taught to stay away from. I didn't know we had the gastric bypass piece of this. So educate us on the foods that you had to stay away from because you had chronic kidney disease. We'll start there.
Okay. The main things you're going to stay away from when you are on dialysis, is you have to stay away from potassium, sodium, and phosphorus. Those are the three main components, because those things were set up in your body that can't be flushed out. Where on the opposite hand, if you have diabetes, you need potassium because it flushes out of you. Where with kidney disease, it stays in you, and you have to watch your intake of it. So I call it the four bad things, not really bad, but the things you should really to limit to almost omitting are: number one, tomatoes, potatoes, kale, spinach, or anything high phosphorus like ice cream, um, anything high phosphorus, cheese. So I'm limited to how much I can consume. So for me, I love potatoes. We grew up on potatoes. So I pick one day out the week that I call it my easy day or my cheat
Your
day,
cheat day.
and I have my potatoes. So whether I go to Chick-fil-A or I fix them myself, I ask for some fries, unsalted, and most people are like, what? Unsalted? I said, yes, unsalted, because you have to watch the amount of sodium.
Sodium.
Because yes,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, tell us a little bit about this kidney friendly cooking,
okay,
how you decided to develop it. Do you have some there with you?
I sure do. I have
Yeah.
this. How I got to this, if you can see it.
Yes.
Um, I was laying there on a dialyzer one day, and this was because I started back November 1st, 2021 was the first day of it. After I said, okay, we got to do it. And I started going to the facility, and I would sit here and I'd be pondering. I said, my God, why am I on here? I said, now I know this is not the end, and it's not a death sentence, and you don't have to treat it like that. And that's what I put on my website. I let people know, just because you are on the machine doesn't mean that life is over. You
Right.
don't have to look like you're sick. And people
Right.
ask me that all the time. You on dialysis? You do this and this? I said, yes. I said, I don't let that stop me. And
Right.
so, and I'm looking around at people and they were looking so defeated. I said, no, something's got to change. And God spoke and said, it starts with eating. I said, eating? Yes. What you put in your body is very important. What you put in your body is very important. And I began to research and look at the things because they're going to give you this big old list. You can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have this. So I turned it around. I said, what can I have and how much?
Educate us on that.
And I began to look at that. I said, okay, so what's the things that I can have? And that's how I started looking at stuff. I said, not what I can't, but what I can, and I make use of it.
So
Then
tell us 5 things maybe that you can have, because I'm
okay,
interested in getting information to people. Everybody knows, as what you just said, what they can't have. I'm
mhm,
interested in getting information to people based on your research and what you have found to work for you that gives you some normalcy in your life, or things that maybe you substituted for what you can't have. Also, how your seasoning plays into that.
okay. Well, we all know we all like macaroni and cheese, right?
Okay, that's a good one to
That's a
start.
giver. Well, God has graced me, and the Holy Ghost has given me an alternative. So this is where this comes in as alternative cooking. So when I make macaroni and cheese, we all start with the cheddar cheese. Well, cheddar cheese, minimum to none, because they tell you need to have something with less. The cheese you choose need to be with less sodium. Well, I started looking at the different cheeses I can put in macaroni. Cream cheese. You can have, I buy the unsalted butter, real butter, mozzarella, fresh mozzarella. My only salt of the cheese that I choose would be like the Parmesan. I buy the fresh Parmesan and I grate that up in there. So that's really my salt right there. So I don't really have to put salt in the water when I'm boiling the noodles. People say, well, you got to salt your noodles. I don't do that. Um, Now we have to watch our, like I say, our phosphorus intake. Well, those type of cheeses, like your white cheeses, they are lower in phosphorus and potassium, and sodium. So when you are shopping, always pay attention, if I can see this correctly, to your labels of how much is what is in there. And that's something I never did do. I was like, pick up something and go. Start paying attention. What's the
What
ingredients?
are acceptable percentages? What are acceptable percentages on the back of the label?
Okay. You are not to consume over 2,000 milligrams a day worth of sodium. And so 2,000 milligrams is equal to like two, I'm going to say either 2.5 teaspoons to a tablespoon of salt. That's way, way more than you should consume in a day's time. Same thing with the other one, excuse me,
Phosphorus
potassium.
or potassium?
You shouldn't overdo more than 2,200 milligrams worth of potassium. Consume that much in a day's time. So everyone is always worried about the calories. I don't worry about calories. I worry about those things. I'm more concerned about that because if you're exercising, doing what you're supposed to do, all that's going to fall into play. And also your milk. So I can't use regular milk anymore. Even with the gastric bypass, I developed where I'm not allowed to have regular dairy milk. So my alternative now is coconut milk, and it's wonderful.
I use that.
Or almond milk,
Mhm.
wonderful, love it, and that's why I
So,
do recommend.
so that's
I,
you put all of those things in your macaroni and cheese, and you come up with an alternative macaroni and cheese that
mhm.
you can consume health that is healthy for your kidney disease. Do you use
Yet very
regular?
tasty.
Do you use regular noodles, or do you have some type of noodles that you use?
Well, with kidney, you're not limited to having a special noodle. Like on the if you would diabetes, you probably have to use something like the whole wheat pasta. Well, you can't use whole wheat products when you're on dialysis. I forgot what it is. It's something that's in there. They don't want you to use whole wheat products. So I can actually eat regular white bread again, which I really don't all the time. So the noodles are fine. I just buy the regular noodles.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's interesting. Um, I'm interested to know more about, give us just two more meals that you, or things that that make up your meals that are, is a popular dish, say like macaroni and cheese, that you found a way that you can substitute, that you can eat. And then at the end, I want you, of course, to give your information. So in case people want to reach out to you to learn more about the substitutions of the meals, of ways that they can formulate, because you're given all this information that can be overwhelming.
Yes.
And sometimes people can even do the research or can quote the numbers like you can, but they don't go to the point of being able to formulate dishes that they can enjoy and that they can eat, that are healthy for them. So that's important information that
Mhm.
goes along with the development of your seasoning. You
Mhm.
use that in all of your food?
Yes, this can be used with any meat, vegetable, um, pasta, any type of casserole dish you like. Just think of it like, I hate to use this example, Mrs. Dash, but I'm Mr. Dash.
Gotcha. I compared it
um,
to that in my mind, but I wasn't sure. So
yes,
hypertension, diabetes, not specifically just kidney disease,
right,
anything that alters your diet, and just if you want to be healthy, to stay
exactly.
away from the sodiums and all the things that are in
Yes,
a lot of the seasonings we use. The sodium is way up there.
yes, and that's why I God gave this to me to create, because when you go to the go to the store, you don't have very many things you can choose from that doesn't have that has salt in it, that doesn't have a lot of salt in it or any salt, you know. And even in the hospitals, they don't have anything for you. They now just started pulling out this by McCormick. They call it mixed herb, salt-free mixed herb, this little packet. I said, okay, Lord, I see what you're talking about now. And I'm working on that too, future right now. Um, they give you this little seasoning little herb pack so that you could put a sprinkle on your food to give it some flavor and taste, because yes, we need a little bit of salt. So don't get me wrong. I do want to be clear. Yes, we do need a little salt, just a little bit, but not as much as we're consuming each day in our food, because it's hidden when you buy prepackaged foods like frozen foods or canned food, especially canned foods, because preservatives, you have to look at that, and that's where your high sodium content comes to play. So when you're in the store and you're trying to find seasonings and things like that, most of them are packed with salt that you don't even realize is in there, because we're so used to consuming so much of it.
I ran into that when feeding mama, and I'm running into it with feeding myself as I get older, with just
Mhm.
trying to stay healthy and not develop some of the things, the diabetes, high blood pressure, and all of that that has ran in our families, because
Right,
she had both.
right.
However, one of the things that I noticed, and you tell me if you agree with this through my research of talking to you about kidney disease, that some of the warning signs, like you said, you didn't know that you even had diabetes, and your blood sugar was off the charts. And I'm
Mhm.
sure the kidney disease developed from your numbers running so high. So I was
Yes,
looking at some of the warning signs of possibly that people can pay attention to, that's going on with their bodies, to make them
yes.
maybe try to go in and check on themselves. I recommend, depending on your age, definitely getting a physical every year,
Mhm.
once a year. As
Yes.
you age, I've always done that, but as you age, now I'm in my 50s. I get my blood drawn a minimum of twice a year, more like 4 times a year. I get it drawn once a quarter. And that's to keep an eye on everything. My doctor tests, because of my family history, he tests my heart enzymes, my
Mhm.
blood sugar, which is my A1C numbers, all of
Mhm.
those types of things they test, your potassium levels, calcium, all of that stuff. Because women, as we age and go into menopause, sometimes we lose calcium and we develop osteoporosis and all those types of
Yes.
things. But some of the warning signs that I came across was poor sleep, itchy skin, swollen face or feet, muscle cramps, breathlessness, foggy head, low appetite, always tired, foul breath, bloody urine, or foamy brown urine.
Mhm.
Um, were some of the things that were warning signs that you may be developing. And also urine that has a slight smell of a burnt smell, that your urine can have a slight burn odor.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so along with your diet change, the loss of weight, developing tell us more about, how do I
Say
want to
again. I'm
say,
sorry.
I want you to tell us more about, because I think we started talking about something else. I want you to go back and give us maybe 2 more meals that you have learned how to create that are kidney friendly, hypertensive friendly, diabetic friendly, because it sounds like some of this stuff is opposite, but some of it crosses over.
Yes. Um, I've always given I call it my free recipe. I was sitting there playing with recipes in my head, and then I said, I'm gonna just go home and try it. Well, I always love, my favorite dish is shrimp Alfredo. And we know shrimp Alfredo is made
Full of
with
soda.
what? Lots of butter and heavy cream, heavy whipping cream, and your cheeses and all that good stuff. Well,
The
like I
shrimp
said,
too is a lot of
you
sodium.
can't
Shrimp.
use heavy whipping cream because that's high in phosphorus, you know, and potassium from the dairy products.
Mhm.
So I was looking there. I said, well, Lord, it's got to be another way. So I'm just researching and looking, went to the store, and I did not know that the coconut milk and the coconut products, that they make a coconut cream, a coconut heavy cream. And I found a can of it at Walmart. And I was like, I'm going to try this. So I poured it out in the skillet. I said, I'm going to do the exact same way I make homemade Alfredo. I always use, we can use real butter, and I buy the unsalted kind. So I put the butter in there and my my coconut heavy cream and fresh garlic, and I shaved some fresh Parmesan. Again, that is my salt. I don't have to add any extra salt. Of course, you add your spices, and I I let it cook down, and it thickened up just like perfect Alfredo sauce. You couldn't even tell the difference. It tastes just the same. So, same thing. You do your shrimp and your pasta, and you combine it all together. Voila, you got shrimp Alfredo. And they would never know that you use the original heavy whipping cream. Can tell the
Now,
difference.
now see those two recipes, the mac and cheese and that Alfredo, that's knowledge.
Hmm.
I did not know that there's a coconut heavy cream.
Yes, coconut products is, you kind of don't see it as much, but it is on the rise. And I began to research it. They even have an alternative for soy sauce. It's called coconut amino. It looks just like soy sauce. It almost tastes like soy sauce, but it has a slight little bit sweeter taste, and it's less sodium. Because okay, when you go to the Chinese, you get the little
It's
packets of
full of
soy sauce.
sodium, full of
Well,
sodium.
that is almost 500 milligrams of salt in that one little packet of soy sauce you get that you pour over your rice. Well, you can take 1 tablespoon of that coconut amino and use it for your soy sauce, and it's only half of that. half
Wow.
of it. So when I need a little salt pickup, I use my coconut amino. Sprinkle that in my rice dishes or on my meats. So that would be my only salt use along with this for my flavorings if I was cooking, anything. So anything I use soy sauce in, I throw it out and I now use the coconut amino. Or you can
This
buy that. There's another brand called Bragg's amino. I forgot I think it's Bragg's amino, but I found the coconut version. It's about $6. If I will tell you this, eating healthy is
expensive.
it is, but it's worth it. And I'm asking God to bless my empire so that I can also help others who can't afford to buy the fresh vegetables and things like that need it, so I can sow into them. I want to open up my own pantry for people who are on dialysis or whoever may need it. That is another goal of mine, just as a side note. But yes, coconut amino, that is something I do recommend. Instead of using soy sauce, you don't have to buy that now. You can buy that as an alternative, and it's very delicious.
That's
So
wonderful information just for people like myself that's striving to eat healthier. That's
Mhm.
wonderful information. And that grew up in households where the food was flavorful and you want your food to taste good
Right,
without killing yourself every mouthful.
exactly.
Now give us one more dish, Daniel, and I'm gonna leave you alone. One more dish.
Well, one more dish. Well, they tell you can't have certain things. I'm gonna use your Aunt Danny. Pound cake, and that's what we grew up on, right? And I said I
Yes.
will never eat pound cake when I get grown because I ate it almost every week because she made one. Well, I found the recipe that you don't have to use milk to make a pound cake, and it come out just as fluffy and pretty.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. No milk.
So,
The only dairy product was the 2 sticks of unsalted butter that I used,
okay,
and it
well,
was a very simple recipe.
I'm sure we're going to have people reaching out to you. So we're going to make sure your information, because you have knowledge. And the more that you talk about these recipes, you're sharing the knowledge. And I get that it can be hard to pick out, everything that and list it down. But when you begin to talk about these recipes, you're telling us your knowledge. You're sharing your knowledge of the things that you use to create these
Mhm.
dishes to substitute the ones that you like,
Yes,
prepared the way that they're not so healthy for anyone, not just people suffering with chronic kidney disease or high blood pressure or diabetes, for those of us that don't want to develop it.
that's right. It's a preventative. If you watch what you're eating, this or pay attention, your body will start adjusting itself because that's our intelligent God. He designed us that way. Everything that we need is in the earth, not all this medicine. And see, I'm not taking all of that medicine. Now I do take a lot of vitamins because you're going to need it. And you may mention about something about for women, as they get older, their calcium breakdown. Well, guess what? It breaks down for the guys too when you're on dialysis. So they're forever upping your vitamin D and your calcium because your bones are starting to get brittle.
Brittle.
Mhm. So I take my vitamins. I take my B complex, which is supposed for all your B vitamins that you need. Plus, I still take a B12 for my energy, and I take extra B1 and a B6 for your bones,
Hmm.
and extra vitamin D because remember we're supposed to get our vitamin D from what our milk products, right?
The
Well, we have to.
melanin. And then also African American people suffer with being vitamin D deficient because of our melanated skin. Because I've been on vitamin D probably from
Mhm.
staying on top of my blood work probably since my early 40s.
Right, right. That's right.
And it
So
does
all of
a
those
lot for
things
us.
come into play. Oh yeah.
It
And I
does.
don't take high blood pressure pills anymore. They keep asking, aren't you taking this? I say, I have it, but I'm not telling no one else, don't you do that. I said, that's between you and God. Now I said, I know what I'm doing and I'm watching everything I do, and I'm staying active. I don't just go home and lay down. No, I'm constantly on the move. Because like I said, I was working, I'm working 40 hours a week. After I get off the machine, I go home and get myself ready and I'm back out the door and I'm going to work. People say, how are you doing that? I say, by the grace of God. But they're trying to slow me down because of my eyesight at work. They don't want me working on the computers and the job that I have. It requires a lot of strenuous eye work on, looking at the computers, So, and then some days and I have to be honest, there are some days that you do feel tired and you do have those chronic aches from where they draw maybe too much fluid off of you on the machine, and yes, you will have those, but I don't let it stop me. I say, I keep going. I say every day that he allows me to get up and I can see, I'm out the door. I say, your divine protection, and let's go, Lord.
That's the way to beat it. That's how I beat Crohn's. I never stopped,
Yeah.
and I suffered for 8 years and was very ill. I had a 4 hemoglobin at one time, and they thought that I should have been unconscious, and they were worried about my
Yeah.
veins collapsing, not being able to receive the blood transfusion. But my mind and my will, of course, with
Mhm.
God's grace being
Yeah.
first, kept me going. You have to keep, we were not developed or designed by God, I don't believe, to be stationary, sitting.
No.
We were designed to be moving. And I think even when we have these chronic situations, we should push to move ourselves as much as we can, because being still adds more problems and more breakdown to whatever's going on with you. So do you exercise outside of working?
Of course. And most of my exercise is walking and doing things. You could be exercising while cooking.
Yes, that's true. A lot
Yeah.
of people stand now. They have the desk that raise up and they walk in place while they're at work. Just,
Yes.
the movement counts. It means something. So I get that. So Daniel,
Park far in the parking lot. Don't park up close. Walk.
right. That's
Walk
right.
the store. I walk Walmart a lot, at least a mile while I'm in there. Even if I'm not
Right.
buying anything. Walking.
Right.
Walking is more important than anything.
That's
If
right.
you just walk a few minutes a day, that's a whole lot within itself.
It
You
makes a
know,
difference.
it does. People are like, you got muscles? You must be pumping iron. I said, I ain't pumping no iron, but I got 5-pound dumbbells over here on the floor. And I get 1 or 2 or 3 here and there. But I say your body will start getting to where it should be if you just start with eating right, focus. I mean, focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Don't let life defeat you. You attack it. I said, because like I said, I watched too many family members die. I said, no, and I don't think it was quite your time. But I don't know. That's between them and God. I said, but as long as you allow me to stay here, I said, at least let me get close to Ms. Andrews' age, because she was 90, pushing
Yeah.
91. I said, Lord, if I can get close to that, I'll be good. Grandpa was 86. I said, but 59, it's not going to work. Mm-mm, that ain't
Yeah.
going to work. My,
Their
my
only
own daddy
child.
is 78. I said, if I get to 78, 79, I would be happy.
Right. Right.
You know?
I get it. I get the mindset. I do. And I think the battle begins in our mind.
Where it
That's why
starts.
that's why it's so important to feed your mind and your spirit with the right thing. So you have something to fight with. You have something to push through with. Because without those two things, you're going to be defeated, because
Exactly.
life can beat you up. Even with having those two things that you constantly are feeding, you still have to push through some days. And I know that, from
Oh, yeah.
physical challenges to dealing with illness of my own, of my mom's, it just watching family
Hmm.
members, like you said, it can be a struggle. And if you're not careful, it can defeat you. And that's what we're fighting against, making sure that it stops now.
Mhm.
and that it doesn't go any further. So Daniel, who is that sitting back there behind you over there on your sofa?
This is Mr. Danny Bear.
Mr. Danny Bear. So
I
tell us
call him
about,
Danny Bear, but it's a teddy bear from my collection on my website. And when I was at the flea market, this little girl walked up to me. She said, "I like your teddy bear." I said, "Yes, you can have him. Tell your mom to come get him. He's $16.99." And I
so
have something for everybody.
is that your seasoning logo on the front of it? Hold it up. We
Yes,
can't see it. That's your seasoning logo. So that's one of the marketing tools you're using
it's a marketing tool.
to get your information out about your season.
Yes,
Friendly kidney, friendly kidney
kidney
cooking.
friendly cooking,
Kidney friendly cooking. I thought I was saying that wrong.
or you can say KFK.
KFK. Let's say the whole
Mhm.
name. Kidney friendly
Friendly
cooking.
cooking,
Okay.
and cooking is
Tell
with
us.
the K.
I saw that. So tell us what your website is.
It is www.kidneyfriendlykooking with a K, no G.com.
So spell cooking.
KOOKIN.
Cooking
Mm-hmm.
with a K.
Cooking with a K, no G.
You have a YouTube page.
Yes. And it's the @ sign kidney friendly cooking. But if you go to my website and you go to my info page or about me, it's on each page. It'll show you my YouTube channel. It'll also take you to my online shop where you can find Danny Bear and other memorabilia and clothing apparel.
The
I have coffee
seasoning,
mugs. I have everything.
and you can get the seasoning there.
Now, the seasoning, I cannot put that on the website due to the amount that they require because
Okay.
businesses want like so many units, and I don't have the capacity of units in order to display online so somebody can buy it. But if you go to me, go to the website and you click on the info page, my email is there, which is info@kidneyfriendlykooking.com. You can send me an email, sign up for my newsletter, and that way I can connect with you and I can make sure you get your seasoning. I can have to send it to you, or most people say, "Well, I want this, I want that." I said, "Well, I'll send it to you. I'll make sure you get it." And like I said, and I'm working on a new prototype where I'm declaring that it will be in the stores and in hospitals, also in nursing homes, um, assisted living facility, anywhere. I want it to be able to be wherever it's needed because I'm looking to globally impact the world, not just locally.
It's needed. It's
And
needed
it
because
is needed.
only seasoning that I really use heavily outside of fresh garlic and fresh onions and
Yes.
peppers and things like that for mama was Mrs. Dash. It
Mhm.
really doesn't have any competition, and I find it really interesting that none of the big ones like McCormick and all these other ones have allowed
And
it to
that's
be
all
out here.
you have.
That's right. They've allowed it to be out here all this time with no direct competition. And I'm thinking to myself when I found out about yours in July, I said, well, Lord, maybe you're holding them off because it's going to be his. Because it just doesn't seem it would be that hard for a company that large to produce a salt-free seasoning that's based in herbs and fresh things for people to cook with. But they have had a monopoly of such for quite some time. So it's time for you to give them a run for their money
It is.
globally.
Yes.
Go globally. So we're going to touch and agree that that is the case. Now,
Yes.
so just to recap, and we're clear, they can go to your website, go on your info page,
Mhm.
find your email address and email you for your newsletter to be able to purchase your seasoning or anything like that. Direct contact with you to ask
Mhm.
questions about your knowledge for substitutes for sounds like some really good
Yes.
meals. 'Cause I'm gonna
I want to
call
work on
that.
a recipe book because people ask me about that. I was like trying to sit down and just write it all down because, like I say, dealing with this, that's my challenge that I deal with and trying to type up recipes because
Get
they're
a
floating
ghostwriter
around in
to
my
do it
head.
for you.
And you sitting there on that machine for 4 hours, I better come up with 10 recipes so quick.
But that's a good thing
Thinking.
because that's a struggle for people. That is a struggle for people. That's why people end up not eating right and not staying with their diets because the food is not entertaining, it's not fun, it's bland, and they don't have the gift. I think that's a gift that you have. So I'm gonna call
Yes.
you and get some recipes just to eat healthy. And
Well,
and because that's the gift, that knowledge. You have the sense up here to substitute, and you have the curiosity through your research and through just the gift that God gave you to come up with the mac and cheese
amen.
and the Alfredo. I mean,
Yes.
people are just stumped so often that are in your position. So I think you should try to, first of all, develop your seasoning. Now, there's also a way because you are in need of funding. There's also a way for people to donate to you to help you to grow this seasoning, to possibly get to the point of getting the amount of units that you need to be able to sell it online and to
GoFundMe
go
is there also.
to grow. That's
I
on your
have a link to
website as
that.
well. Okay. So that's on the website too.
Yes, everything is on that website and I keep it updated.
Perfect. 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 Well, Mr. Daniel, I've enjoyed you so much. Now, did you give us the website address? You
Yes,
said at,
www.
okay,
dot
go ahead.
www.kidneyfriendlykooking.com.
Got it.
And
That,
if you go to Google and you type me in, I will come up
okay. Perfect.
in the
Perfect.
Google search because I
And
paid for that.
that's Daniel. You got to do what you got to do to get yourself out there because
Right.
I think you have something that will be a blessing to many. And I think your knowledge for these recipes will be a blessing to many. So when you get this seasoning up and running through your marketing materials and selling the seasoning itself, I think you really should invest in a ghostwriter to comprise these recipes. They're needed, Daniel. They are
Yes,
needed.
they are. And I'm working. That's why the YouTube channel is there also so that I can do cooking tutorials and show people how to do it as well, and give them ideas.
Well,
And
just
that's
do them and
another
post them.
ultimate goal is to be on the Food Network channel, the Food Network channel.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna declare that too, because I think that there's a space there for you. I don't watch Food Network, but I believe that there's a niche there for you. There are a lot of people that would tune in to learn how to do these dishes for health reasons, to stay
Mhm.
healthy and to manage their diseases,
Yes.
to become healed. Because in
Mhm.
some instances, some of these things can be reversed. I've been
It
walking the
can.
healing of an
It
autoimmune
can.
disease since 2004. He doesn't like me any more than he likes anyone else. So
Mhm.
I know that it can be healed. But I want to
Yes.
thank you for giving me and Safe Space your time tonight and for talking to us. I've enjoyed it so much and
I'm
giving
honored
us,
to do it. And I have to
giving,
revert something back to you as well. Because you said something to me back in '08 when I decided and just said, okay, God, I surrender. You said, I'm so proud of you. Well, I am proud of you.
I
So I'm
don't
returning
remember
it back
that.
to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't remember that, but I'm sure I was probably very happy and proud of you at that time. I'm sure. And I am now. So I have to say it again. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Proud of you because what you are dealing with and have been through would have defeated a lot of people. And not
Mhm.
only have you made it, you've made it with a wonderful spirit and an attitude of gratitude, and you're still using your mouth and you're living to praise and worship God. You can't
Oh,
lose
yes.
combination.
You can't.
You know, fighting against some of these things just is too much for some people. But what
Mhm.
they fail to realize is that they can't do it alone in their own power, that they
Mm-mm.
need him. And so I know that you have him, just looking at who you are right now, facing all
Mhm.
that you have faced and that you're even dealing with in your day to day right now. You're
Yeah.
not depressed. You have
Mm-mm.
a spirit of joy and living and looking forward to all the things that you have to give and contribute to help someone else. And that's what it's all about.
Yes, ma'am. You
That's
know,
what it's all.
when when I get out the truck every morning at dialysis, and it's in the dark because it's like 5:20 in the morning. I stand in front of that building as I get ready to walk in. I say to it, you won't have me, but I'm here to help someone else. I'm
Amen.
here to
Amen.
encourage someone else. And when I leave there, the people be looking at me because I'll be literally almost running out the door. Most people be dragging. I'm literally flying out the door. They're like, you finna go to work. I say, uh-huh.
Well, see, you know what? I'm gonna say this in closing. We've been doing a book study, a fervent book study that's by Priscilla Shire. And one of the things that I have lived myself and have to remember, not so much that we live consciously thinking about it, but people are watching, especially when you're in difficult situations.
Mhm.
Even those that share the same situation, you have an impact on them.
Yeah,
And ones that may not. Everyone's dealing with something.
that's
So
right.
that is your ministry. You're right. You are there to minister to someone else. And it is
That's right.
very possible that's why he has you there, because he
Yes.
knew how you were going to deal with it. He knew this was going to be your attitude of
Mhm.
gratitude and that you would be there as an example for the other people that are there.
Exactly. Exactly. I had to learn that, you know, because I've been told, and I believe by faith, I am healed. I'm already healed. And I've had people come up to me after church, didn't know who they were. And they said, the Lord said you already healed and you're not even going to need. And I'm finna go ahead and put it out there. They said, you're not even going to need a transplant. I said, I
Amen.
receive it. I receive it. And then I shared with you a man of God all the way from Africa. And I gave you the link from my church when he spoke
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And I said, now I get what you're saying. And my pastor even reminded me, it's not that God isn't going to, it's when, but the reason why he hasn't yet is because I have to be that person to show them you can go through this and you don't have to let it get you down.
That's right.
You
That's
can
right.
make it through it.
You
You
do
don't
a
have to
marvelous job.
succumb to it.
That's right. You're
So
doing a
I'm being
marvelous
used
job
as
of
an
that.
instrument to saying that even though I'm dealing with this, but it doesn't have me.
That's right.
Because if
That's
he's healed me from diabetes, he's healed me from hypertension, he's healed me 3 times from what they call osteomyelitis, which is that infection in your bone where they want to cut off your toes or your body parts. If he's healed me 3 times from that, all I can say, like TD Jakes, is surely,
surely.
surely he can. So I'm not worried about that. I'm just being used until he says that's it. So I can make an impact to others to let them know, yes, we are dealing with it, but you don't have to own it and it doesn't have to own you.
That's awesome, Daniel. And
Yes, ma'am.
that's a wonderful word to end on. Your information will be in the credits of the show for anyone that's watching the show and you didn't get a chance to get it written down when Daniel was giving his information. But the key thing to remember, whatever you want to do with him, contact him, purchase from him, help him, donate to him, anything, all the information is on his website.
Yes.
And that will be noted in the credits of the show. Daniel, again, thank you so much for coming by Safe Space. I am so proud of you, and I cannot wait to see all that God is going to do with you,
Yes.
for you. And when you become global, come back by Safe Space. Don't forget us.
Oh, and I can't wait for you because I know your platform is going higher. I can't wait to see your own talk show.
Amen. I received that. I received it.
And
I
I'm
received.
going to see you next month anyway.
Yes, you're coming to see me, and I cannot wait. I cannot
Yes.
wait. So you have a wonderful night. Thank you
Likewise.
all for listening. Thank you for coming by Safe Space Daniel. You all have a wonderful evening. And this is Shelby from Safe Space.